Today in our 2002 Honda CR-V, we'll be having a look at and installing the Blue Ox base plate kit with removable arms, part number BX2232. Here's what our base plate looks like installed. What's really nice about this with the removable arms, you'll hardly know that the vehicle's been set up to be flat-towed when you don't have the arms in place. It'll still look just like a Honda CR-V in the front of it, and you won't have hardly anything sticking out. The part that sticks out the furthest is the safety cable attachment points that will go between your CR-V and your motorhome. Once you have your license plate bracket fully installed though, if you have a license plate bracket or a front license plate depending on your state, it'll be almost flush with your license plate, so just keep that in mind. Now when we don't have our arms in place, we have some protective plugs here that we can slide in to help keep dirt and debris out of the socket where the arm goes into. That way you don't have to worry about this arm being difficult to insert. Now our arms are really easy to install. Just make sure this tab here is horizontal. Slide it in, push, twist, and then the retention pin, which is spring loaded, will lock it into place. We'll do the same thing on the other side, just making sure we take our protective plug out. To take our arms out, we simply pull on the pin, twist it 90 degrees, pull it out. Other one's the exact same way. You can twist it 90 degrees any direction. Once you have them out, put your plug back in for safekeeping and to protect the socket. One great thing about this base plate is that it does have a bracket that's included to mount your electrical socket for any of your towed vehicle lighting systems. Gives you a nice solid mount where you don't have to worry about having it rip apart when you're trying to unplug your umbilical between your motorhome and your CR-V. Now that we've gone over some features, we'll show you how to get it installed. To begin our install, we're going to have our hood open so we can remove our fascia. So our fascia is the plastic cover which covers up our bumper beam that goes across the front of the vehicle. In order to get this off, we're going to have to remove several fasteners. The first fastener we're going to need to remove is this 10mm bolt right here, which holds our battery strap in place. Now we're going to have 9 push pin fasteners like this, which go across the top of the fascia to remove. The way these work, there's the center section here, which you can get a flathead screwdriver or trim panel tool under. It'll pop up, and then the whole piece will come out. Now we can lift this panel up here, slide it aside, and we'll set it out of the way. Now we have 2 10mm bolts in front of our tires on the lower edge of the fascia on both sides. So we'll remove all of these bolts. And then at the center of our fascia, we have 2 more push pin fasteners just like the ones at the top. And then at each corner of our fascia where it meets our fender, we have an 8mm bolt inside. Now with an extra set of hands, we'll grab the corner of our fascia, pull it back, and then we can pull it forward away from the vehicle, and we'll set it aside where it won't get damaged. Now normally your grille will come off as one piece with your fascia right here. However, our vehicle has been in a front end collision at some point in time, and the tabs that secure it are broken. So that's why ours came off as a separate piece. Okay, now we need to remove our bumper beam. We'll have 4 bolts on each side in order to do this. Now ours may look a little bit different than yours because the fact our vehicle was in a front end collision and the bumper beam may not have been replaced all the way properly. We have 2 12mm bolts on top that we'll remove. We have a third one here on the side. And then we have a 4th and final one underneath. Now we'll put one loosely in at the top just to help hold it in place while I remove the other ones on the other side. It's the exact same process. The bolts are in the exact same location. Now we'll remove the one that we loosely put back in. Grab our beam. And we'll work it around our air conditioning lines. And slide it off. We will not be reinstalling it. Now we need to change the positioning of our horns. Now, depending on your vehicle, you may have a horn on each side of the vehicle, or they both may be located on the driver's side. Just depends on which plant your car came from. So we have a 13mm bolt. We'll loosen this bolt. Rotate the horn outwards about 90 degrees and tighten down the bolt. We'll do the same on both sides. All right, now on each side of our frame, we have 2 layers of material here and here. We're going to drill a small hole straight on up through here in this general area. You don't have to be precise, just try to get it centered between this area here and this area here. We want to be sure we're careful and aware of our drill bit length, because right above the area we're drilling on the passenger side is an air conditioning line. We don't want to damage that. And now we'll gradually increase our drill bit size until it's the size indicated in the instructions. All right, for every bolt that we're using in our installation, we'll be sure to put red Loctite on it, as indicated in the instructions. We have Loctite available on our website if you need some. This is one of our 3/8 1-inch long bolts. We'll go up through the hole, place on our reinforcement block here, followed by a lock washer, and then a nut. Okay, now we'll snug these bolts down with a 9/16 socket and wrench. Now we'll torque the hardware to the amount indicated in the instructions. Keep in mind that everything we do on one side will repeat on the other side. Okay, now on the side of our frame rails, we have this bracket here where our bumper beam had a bolt going through to attach. We need to remove this. There's 3 spot welds that we need to drill out. We don't want to drill all the way through the frame, just through the spot weld. So we'll start with a small drill bit. And we'll work our way up to bigger drill bits. Okay, now that we have these drilled out enough, we can use a pair of pliers or a monkey wrench or something to slide over it. And then we'll rock it back and forth until it snaps off. We can also use a hammer and a chisel and come in between the 2 layers and help separate them. Now with an extra set of hands, we'll slide our base plate into position on our frame rail. We'll slide it all the way back against the sensor right here, and we'll have it about 1/4 of an inch from the top of our frame rail, and we'll clamp it into place. All right, now that we have our base plate securely clamped into place, we ensure that it's level and even on both sides. We'll use our final size drill bit to go to the center of the hole to make a mark where we're going to drill through. With it marked, we can make a pilot hole now and enlarge it to the final size once our hole's made. All right, for our top 3 holes, we'll be using a handle nut. This side here will face outwards, and we'll insert it through the opening in our frame rail, and we'll screw in a bolt that's 1.5 inches long with a lock washer. into our handle nut. We'll make sure it's started by hand first. And we'll repeat the same process for the other top two locations. Okay, our bottom one's a little bit different. We have an inch long bolt. And this does not get a lock washer on the outside of the base plate. The lock washer instead goes on the inside, over the bolt, followed by our nut. All right, we have a wrench holding the nut in place, and now we'll snug down the bolt. We're using 9/16 sockets and wrenches on all of our hardware. With them snug down, we can now torque them to spec. All right, now that we have all of our hardware in place and torqued down, we can break off the ends of our handle nuts. Let's put our side cutters on them, squeeze, and wiggle it back and forth, and it comes right off. Okay, we attached our safety cables for our base plate. We wrapped them around the base plate, wrapped them around our frame, secured them with our quick link, and used a zip tie to keep them from rattling around. Now, before we put our fascia back in place, for anybody that's doing a braking system, now is a good time to mount your breakaway switch or your electrical connectors for any towed vehicle lighting systems that you may have. Our base plate has provided prongs and an adapter to mount whatever connector you need in order to have your electrical hookup on your vehicle. So we already went ahead and did that. We went ahead and held our fascia up to see if there was any place we needed trim around our electrical connectors for our breakaway switch or towed vehicle lighting system. We found that our middle beam here and our fascia opening on the bottom section does interfere, so we'll cut that out with a pair of side cutters. Now we can reinstall our fascia the same way that we took it off. That completes our look at and installation of the Blue Ox base plate kit with removable arms, part number BX2232 on our 2002 Honda CR-V.